watching the Mutual Fund Show. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. The topic we've picked today has actually come from the feedback of our viewers. So one of our viewers wrote in to us and asked a question which has actually struck up a conversation. Her question was, and we'll pull it up for you, about whether an IDCW works better or should she go for a SWP. Now, let me contextualize this before we get to our experts. We keep talking about what investments to make, how to invest in SIPs, how small and consistent investment portions at a regular interval is going to get you the right growth in your mutual funds. But what about when you want to actually get some of that money? Now, this particular viewer of ours wanted to know that in retirement, what is the best way? Should she go in for an IDCW, which is essentially a dividend option, or an SWP, which is a systematic withdrawal plan? So we thought that this is a great occasion for us to explain what these two options are, compare them, and ask our experts to break this down. So that's the that's the query that came in from Lata Venkateshan, 64 years. And Lata, thank you so much for writing in. She wrote in saying, I have invested 6 lakh in total in ICICI Pru and HDFC Balanced Advantage Fund. Can we switch our existing funds from growth to IDCW? Is this beneficial for senior citizens? Now, let me start by welcoming our guest today. I'm joined by Juzer Gabajiwala, Director of Ventura Securities, is with us. I'm also joined by Kshitiz. Kshitiz is also joining in today. Kshitiz Mahajan, Managing Partner and CEO of Complete Circle Wealth. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today. Now, why I found this question particularly interesting is because it's talking about the other end of the spectrum. At some point, your entire purpose of investments in mutual funds is to enjoy the fruits of that investment. And what is the best way to do it, especially if you are a retired person or you now want some steady income out of it? So with that, let me begin with Juzer to explain these two options. When I say an IDCW or dividend option versus an SWP or systematic withdrawal plan, what does that mean? Because we don't want people to just get caught up in the jargon. What are these two options?
Thank you, Tamanna. Thank you for having me on the show. And actually, this is a great topic, and it's actually one of my favorite ones. It is actually complicated for many investors. So just to give a bit of a context, previously IDCW was actually being called as dividend payout, but effective from 1st April 21. SEBI has changed it to IDCW, which basically means income distribution and capital withdrawal. So the dividend which is there of a mutual fund should not actually be compared with that which a corporate declares dividend. A corporate, declares dividend out of its profits, right? And in case of a mutual fund, it is nothing but buying and selling of securities. So that is a basic primary difference. And previously, what used to happen is that dividend was tax-free. In fact, the tax was being paid at the mutual fund house level. So it was tax-free in the hands of the investor. But now the whole scenario has changed. And because of the change in the scenario, it is better for a person to go for a systematic withdrawal plan. So a systematic withdrawal plan also acts in the same manner as an IDCW, but basically it is more tax efficient. So the tax efficiency is the most important reason that a person should actually opt for a SWP. And it has got its various advantages and, in fact, very little disadvantage. So it is very, very important for an investor to, try to opt for an SWP and not go for an IDCW as an option.
So if there is such a big, difference between the two, who actually and why should anyone actually go in for an IDCW? Let me come to Kshitiz on this. Kshitiz, great to have you back on the show. And let's begin with the basics, how you see these two concepts. And also let me add another layer to it. When does an investor know that it's time to come in for any of these options, where instead of only having credit flow one way, you're actually withdrawing some of your investments, in intervals?
Good afternoon, Tamanna. I think the context has been said very beautifully. So, when it's the time to withdraw, you have to check that what type of tax bracket you are in. So let's first of all simplify what the tax various brackets which these two things fall in. Dividend is, or let's say would we say that IDCW is basically on the basis of what tax bracket you are in. Let's say somebody who's having a 10% tax bracket. So whatever dividend they are getting as a part of their withdrawal, that's been taxed at 10%. Somebody at 20% will be taxed as 20%. But in equity, when you do SWP, or let's say you find a way through which you are withdrawing money, then long-term capital gain is 10%, and capital gain is only on the gain. When you withdraw money, it moves like FIFO, first in, first out. So some part of principal goes, some part of your appreciated amount as a part of equity investment goes. So here, depending on what tax bracket you fall into, you have to take a call. Let's take for example somebody who's getting retired and is not having income which is more than 7.5 lakh rupees. So there is no tax. So once you withdraw this money and let's say on amount of the example which Lata ma'am has given, she has asked the question, 6 lakh rupees she want to participate and withdraw, let's say 10% every year, that means 60,000 she want to withdraw. And if after withdrawing that amount also, if your tax bracket has still been on the zero tax slab, there will be no tax on the amount which you have withdrawn. Let's say if it's added and the tax bracket has moved to 10% slab, then you are paying 10% tax. So it depends that what tax bracket you are into will guide you that whether you want to do a dividend or SWP, number one. Number two, it depends on the certainty of what type of amount which you need on a monthly basis. Dividends are not a certain thing. It looks like many of the AMCs on various schemes, they've been regular in paying dividend on a monthly basis, but this is not something which is certain. But SWP, let's say if your expenses depends on, it depends on the withdrawal which you are making from your investment, your monthly expenses depend on that, then I think SWP is a better option where you can decide, let's say X amount or Y amount, whatever amount you want to withdraw, on what date you want to withdraw. Because there's a certainty of withdrawal in systematic withdrawal plan, which is not there in dividend. Dividend option might surprise you in a month or two where any scheme is not paying you any dividend. So these two things has to be taken into account when you're looking for a dividend option or a SWP option.
So depend in parts on what stage of your life you are in, whether you want your essential corpus to, keep dipping with an SWP or not. Would that also be a factor? And, Kshitiz, since you mentioned Lata's question, let me pull that up again and let's address her specific query as well, which we want to talk about, because she is talking about, the 10% amount that she wants in. She wants a 10% return, and she says that I've invested 6 lakh in total in ICICI Pru Equity Savings Fund and HDFC Balanced Advantage Fund. Can we switch our existing funds from growth to IDCW? Is this beneficial for senior citizens? So in her specific case, Kshitiz, what would be the advice you would give?
Mana, again, it depends on the tax slab in which she is falling into. So if she is falling into a high tax slab, then growth is the right option. If she is not falling into high tax slab and either minimalistic tax slab or no tax slab, then she can go to a dividend option, what she is asking about. Second part, which is important, if she want to use this as an income withdrawal, fund, and she want to keep on increasing her, overall capital appreciation after withdrawal also, then she has to move out of the savings fund, the savings funds, to a better maybe BAF, some balanced advantage fund also. Because that can yield only 6-7% return. Where on a balanced advantage fund category, you can still expect 9-10% return over a long period of time. So that second change which she should do on the fund allocation side also, that's what I feel is the right way of doing it, because you can target 19% overall return, then you can expect a withdrawal of 6% up to 6% on a yearly basis from your capital appreciation. And second, as I said, it totally depends on what slab you're into, because equity long-term capital gain is 10%. And that's the most friendliest tax instrument in the country after agriculture income, if you ask me. But if she's in no tax slab, then I think for her, I think it's much better that she should she should move to a dividend option.
Okay, so tax slab is key. We don't have that details for Lata, but I hope that's useful for her. Juzer, what would be your response to her particular query?
So I'll give a very simple example. In fact, we that's what we address with many clients. So we just did a back testing of data. We took if supposing the one of the most popular scheme was HDFC Balance Advantage. So if somebody had invested on 31st March 23 and we have a 1 year data. So on a 10 lakh investment, if he had opted for a dividend option, you would have received a total dividend of around 97,000. Okay. Now, depending upon 30%, you would have been paying tax of maybe around approximately 29,000. And if it was 10% tax bracket, you would have paid a 9,700 tax. Okay. Now, because this investment, and let us say the same amount was withdrawn by an individual, every month, exactly the same ditto amount we took as a withdrawal for 1 year. So he withdrew exactly around 97,000. And if he had taken capital gains, and now in this particular case, he would have actually paid short-term capital gains because it was less than 1 year. His taxation would have come to just around 2,800 rupees. So there is a huge difference for somebody even in a 10% tax bracket, as compared to a person, opting even for a IDCW. So I see a great merit in SWP, specifically like, how Kshitiz also mentioned that it gives you the flexibility of defining your withdrawal. And my only second thing advice to Lata would be is that 10% is a very aggressive, withdrawal, because look at it like that. If I'm looking at a fixed income instrument, today no fixed income is going to give you a 10% post-tax return. So you should try to do a withdrawal of roughly around 6%. So which pre-tax would be around 8% or even 7% for somebody in a 10% tax bracket. So doing a 6% and taking a capital appreciation is much better than trying to be very aggressive in your withdrawal, because ultimately otherwise you would deplete your total corpus much more faster.
So see, that comes to the question that I was also asking Kshitiz, and I'll bring this to Juzer. At what point do you decide to go for an SWP? So Lata Venkateshan is 64, and she's asked the question in the context of a retired person. Is this an option A, only for retired people? And then does that calculation have to sort of come in? What is your corpus? How much do you need to spend, and what is the kind of lifestyle you want to live, and for how long you want it? I mean, somewhere that back of the envelope kind of calculation needs to be made, Juzer.
She'll have to decide that what is the amount she needs every month, because that is not something which we can tell. Yeah. But ideally speaking, if supposing if somebody wants a cash flow, ideally speaking, you should try to build up a portfolio in a growth scheme for at least around 2 to 3 years in a a balance advantage fund type of a thing. Be a little bit conservative, so that you get some accumulation for the period of at least 2 to 3 years. So, and then you start your withdrawal. And the withdrawal ideally should not be more than 6 to 7% from there. So, if supposing the total return is going to be around 10 to 12%, so you can withdraw around 6 to 7%, and you can still enjoy 3 to 4% capital appreciation down the line, because no investor likes to see depletion in the value of investments. So that is something which will take care if you be conservative in your withdrawal.
I just want to take that question to Kshitiz as well. And is this only an option for retired people, or that kind of a calculation that you make?
Tamanna, very interestingly, sir has said it rightly, but I'll just add to what he said. Problem in today's life is not that how much money you want. Problem is that you are going to live long. If you want to retain that lifestyle which you and what you're retiring, then you have to build a corpus. Many of my friends, many clients, they ask that let me have, let's say, corpus of 5 crore, 10 crore. There's a monster about inflation. And we keep on talking about 6%, 7% inflation. Inclusive is more than 8-9%. So you should have an inflation-beating investment returns. If you, let's say, participate in an index fund only, it can give you 11-12% return over the next 10, 15, 12 years, because your index fund return can be in line with your nominal GDP. Now, coming back to SWP, once you have a corpus with you, So, why SWP is important? Many people say that when we are at age of 50, we should go more on fixed income side. My only suggestion to them is if they don't require lump sum investment, I think SWP works really beautifully. One reason, right now the long-term capital gain on equity is 10%. And when you do a SWP, your principal and your appreciated amount, it goes in a proper, ratio. So take for example, somebody has participated 1 lakh rupee and it has become 2 lakh rupees. And when you want to withdraw some amount, it will go principal as well as appreciation in a proper proportion, depending on how much amount you're withdrawing, because it works like a FIFO. So tax liability exactly when during the lifespan where you're withdrawing your funds, initially is not more than 2, 3, 4%. And later also it's 5, 6% only. Because you want to leave something on the table for other people also. And many people say that, no, I don't know, maybe I will live to 75, 80. Nobody knows how you're going to and how much long you're going to live. If you want to maintain that lifestyle, I think you should have allocation toward 10% plus allocation return, which can be a balanced advantage fund or let's say large cap fund, a combination of, and you should withdraw, as said by sir, not more than 6% on a yearly basis from that fund. So that your corpus will still keep on growing and you have that comfort of withdrawing money as and when you want. Let's say if some lump sum investment lump sum requirement is, then you can withdraw the fund also. So that's a right approach, a better tax efficiency, and a better and there is a certainty of amount which is coming and hitting your bank account. You decide, okay, I want 1 lakh rupee on first of every month. It will come to your bank. Come what may, dividend is going to come or not going to come.
So let's begin with this query which was coming from Muiz Ansari, who's 59 years. The goal is guidance. Says, I will be retiring in May 2025 and will invest 25 lakhs each in HDFC Balanced Advantage Fund SWP and ICICI Prudential Multi-Asset Fund SWP with 7% withdrawal. Where should I invest the balance amount after deducting monthly expenses? You know, this ties in perfectly with what we were discussing in the first part of this show as well. Juzer and Kshitiz still with us. Let me come to you first, Juzer, on this query that Muiz Ansari has. Though the question essentially is where he puts the balance money, but what is your take on the two funds he's mentioned, 25 lakhs each in HDFC Balanced Advantage and ICICI Prudential?
So I will not give any specific fund advice, but in terms of the category, I think the category which he has chosen is pretty good in terms of, so both are reasonably conservative. My only concern is that, we are coming from a high level of market right now. From we have had a spectacular run in the last financial year. So whether 24-25 will behave in the same pattern, I don't think so. So he will have to narrow down his expectations. So within 1 year, whether he'll be able to withdraw, because like I said before, ideally you should let your corpus grow for at least around 2 to 3 years to start withdrawing. So if at the end of 1 year, if he gets a return of around 10 to 12% in the fund, then I think it will be good. Post that, he can start withdrawing. I still maintain that he should look at a 6% withdrawal and not a 7% withdrawal as his monthly expenses. Now, what I assume from what he is talking about is that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming that his withdrawal, what he is doing, out of that he will be meeting his expenses and he will be having a surplus which is going to be left out. So if he is looking at investing in the balance surplus, ideally he can look at into putting it into an equity fund, more as a large and mid cap, because basically he will be converting his income element into bringing in more capital, and maybe after 2-3 years he can top that money back again into his corpus which he is building up for multi-asset or a balance advantage fund as a category.
Kshitiz, very quickly, your take on this question, and would you want to give any advice on the funds they've chosen?
So broadly, I agree with what sir is saying, but I think multi-asset category will not be able to generate more than 7-8% return, and BAF I will take 9 to 10%. So when you don't require fund as a lump sum and you just need the money through SWP route, the right thing to do is that for the first year he can just keep 3 lakh rupees, which is like if he want to have 6% withdrawal or 7% withdrawal on 50 lakh rupees, he can have that money in his liquid or arbitrage fund. And balance, he can participate in a balanced advantage fund or large cap index funds. That's what he can do. And next, from second year onward, he can have his SWP going rather than just starting from first year onwards. So 1 year gap more he can give from here onwards, as markets are at all-time high. And I'm sure that we are heading for some spectacular market rally next 10 years time, but it's never linear. So, and it's a very short time frame in which he is looking at starting his SWP. So the amount which he requires for next 1 to 2 years, he can just park that fund in a arbitrage fund. But rather than having a multi-asset fund, I will, in personal capacity, I would like to have more of a balanced advantage fund, or let's say a large cap index fund to do my SWP. And balance also fund, if he has some funds remaining on his side, he should participate in a large capish oriented mutual fund. This is what I feel, because with a mix of balanced advantage fund, large cap fund, he can target a return of 10 to 11% on overall corpus, and he can have a withdrawal of 6% going easily from his portfolio for SWP.
Well, in any case, enjoy your retirement. Just about a year to go, so I'm sure you're looking forward to it. All right, next query from Vikas, who's age 49. Who says, I've been investing in 4 small cap funds for the past 5 years, and I've booked some profits in 21 and 23. I'm still sitting at a profit of approximately 100% in all these schemes. Good for you, Vikas. Should I book partial profits? If yes, where should I reinvest, or should I continue my SIPs? He goes on with details of his current SIPs for paucity of time, so I'm just putting them on the screen. Juzer, would you like to take this question?
So first of all, I feel that, a mutual fund investment is not like a stock investment, so your mutual fund investment should be more goal oriented. And frankly, by booking profits in 21 and 23, he missed the whole small cap rally of the 23-24 financial year in terms of, and he landed up paying capital gains tax. And so ideally, any of your mutual fund investments, specifically when you're doing SIP, it should be more goal oriented. It should not be from a purpose of, trying to jump around from one scheme to the another scheme, because you need to understand that you are paying a transaction cost, right? And the transaction cost is more in terms of the taxation. So in my opinion, he should stay invested, and he needs to be mindful of the fact that he's done a SIP for 5 years. But logically, his investment time has only been 2.5 years, because his first installment is gone 5 years back, and one installment has gone even as late as just maybe a month back. So when you take the average of 60 months, his average investment has just been 2.5 years. So that is something which he needs to be mindful of. Ideally, the time horizon for a SIP we talk about in terms of 15 years. Markets will be going up and down. Trying to time the market is not a advisable strategy.
Right.
A mutual fund, leave it to the fund manager to do the booking of the profits. A mutual fund doesn't become expensive or cheap like a stock.
So net, you're saying continue your SIP.
Yes, absolutely, and hold on, not to exit.
Okay, don't exit. Continue your SIP. That's the advice coming in from Juzer. That's all the time we have, but you know where to get in touch with us. Those numbers on your screen for today. Kshitiz and Juzer, thank you so much for joining us, and to all of our viewers as well. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Meanwhile, thank you for watching, but do stay tuned. A lot more coming up on NDTV Profit.